I've been cheating on you.
I forgive you. Are you subscribed to the One Punch podcast?
What's that?
Get out!
Hey guys, what's going on? This is One Punch here with Let's try that again. I hope everyone's doing well. Feels like yesterday that we've seen you. And I hope you guys are doing well. Healthy. I hope your families are good. I hope you guys had a good New Year and a good Christmas. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Relaxing, coaching a bunch this month, getting married in August. So just spent like so much money on flight tickets and the wedding. And, you know, if you guys are married, you guys know how it is. Go broke. You know, once you're married, you're fucked, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's what's up right now. And then I've got this new YouTube channel for Gundam. Been putting out a lot of content, trying to make the Gundam scene moves at the pace of a snail. So I've been like really progressing it forward, making sure that people are, you know, at least getting closer to complete decks of certain archetypes. And we're not going to wait 2-3 months or the end of a certain whole, like, you know, GDO3 just came out. I don't want to wait till GDO3 is over for people to figure decks out like in the next set. I want them to figure it out now, day 1, day 2, and then we move on with everything like fully accomplished and complete.
So you started your own YouTube channel. You kind of left me hanging a little bit there, buddy.
Did I?
No, dude, I'm so proud of you, bro. Like one day, I just randomly get a was it you? Did you show me? No, yeah, you like hit me up. I think on my on this YouTube, and you left a comment that's like, go check out mine, and I did, and I'm like, this dude's. You blew me out of the water with this YouTube channel subscribers. We just hit 200, which would have been a great feeling had I not seen that you have like about 5, and that's in like a very small time. But that goes to show that the content that you're producing is very high quality. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there who are following you and liking the content that you're putting out. So good job, man. Kudos. Holy shit.
Yo, a lot of people message me and saying that they love listening to it at work, and I worked in a warehouse for a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, dude, if I do not have a podcast, I would like that warehouse day. I just want to go home. I don't even want to work like that day because there's nothing to listen to. I'm just there alone, like, you know, working. It's like, bro, I wish I could listen to something about Gundam or Warhammer or trading card games or whatever I'm into at that moment and just go about my day, enjoy life, because I have something to, like, you know, let my brain just like absorb and then think about while I'm doing my job.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I'm with you on that, but I don't know if it's like a good or a bad thing, because I do the same thing, but it's not just with like if I'm out working or something. Like if I could be doing the cat litter that particular night, and I can't do it unless I put a headphone in and I listen to something that has to do with what I'm into, which is like I'm getting daggers from my wife. She's looking at me right now like she knows exactly what I'm talking about because she sees it every night, and it's a problem, like, because I don't know, I don't think society should be going in that direction. But my point being, Coach, I understand where you're coming from. It's nice to just be able to kind of just get lost in something that you're into, and while you're doing something like monotonous or something you don't really feel like doing, you get to like listen to something that you actually are interested in. And I think a lot of viewers kind of understand that sentiment.
I think our viewers, whoever's listening to this right now, should comment if they feel the same way and how excited they are that there's an episode from this lost channel, from the Lost and Found, after months of like no content.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Have we been gone?
Oh my god! Yes, we have been gone.
Oh,
but you know, people still mess me. They're like, they still know what our podcast is, and they're still messaging me asking about like what happened to our podcast. I love listening to you guys talk. Like Rain Knight, you know, Rain Knight's been helping me out a bit on the Gundam side of things, doing gameplay videos and stuff of the decks that I put out. And he still is like, you know, I love that podcast. I like listening to you guys talk and bounce off each other.
Yeah, we have good banter. That's been always whenever I join into like any of your discords and you're in there with people, it's nice to have someone know who I am, even if I've never actually introduced myself to them or seen them before. And you know, because they like our podcast, I guess we just have some chemistry. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of Discord, like I was in the Gundam Discord, and Paul just came back after his like vacation Christmas break of back with GDO 3 and Gundam, and he was like, dude, if you haven't met Coach in the Discord server, he's literally asleep in the server, like on the call. So if you don't know who Coach is, you're literally living under a rock because I pretty much sleep in the server.
Wait a minute, you actually go to sleep in the Discord server?
I've fallen asleep on that server like 7, 8, 10 times because I'm just there hanging out with like my boys Echo or whoever, playing games, listening to people play games and talk, and I just like pass out.
That shows your commitment. I mean, it's something that you're really interested in. I love that.
Yeah, definitely hanging out with the boys in there.
I think last time we were speaking about Gundam, I don't know if I wouldn't say like the meta was getting stale, but I feel like you kind of had it to the point where it was solved. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like when set 2 cards were coming out, you weren't too hyped for those. And I guess what set are we on now for Gundam?
We're on set 3, just came out very recently on the 30th. Yes.
And what do you think about it?
Set 3 is way better than set 2. We have lots of the decks that were missing a lot of cards, just didn't have any direction to go to. Got a lot of new cards to play with, and the metagame has definitely shifted from like it hasn't shifted, but there's more decks that can actually play now, and there's just if you wanted to play a certain style of deck or a certain archetype, you can actually do that for the most part. Like Tekkadan, which is IBO for you Gundam fans, pretty much really wanted to play that deck, but everybody was just using the same cards. It was like use Armor Array and just like win your games really aggressively, or you play Wing Zero and run a lot of blockers, which are still exist in Gundam right now. You're still gonna play max blockers, and then people are still playing like super aggro low to the ground, and then but there's still room for other decks. Like there's a new guy, the O, who's a complete board control deck. The Freedom Blocker deck is pretty much dead now. No one's playing that because the O is doing what that deck did but better. And we have other decks that aren't fully fledged out, but you can at least play them casually and have fun like you would in any other card game. You're just like, I want to play my Blue Eyes deck. I want to play my Luke deck. Yeah, it might not be the best deck in the game, but I enjoy this character, and I can at least try to win like a game here or there every single like locals.
I'm sorry, did you say Blue Eyes?
I said Blue Eyes because Blue Eyes is a classic TCG card. And
okay.
even Blue Eyes in Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know if you saw, but they're doing over art, I don't know what they're called, over arts in Yu-Gi-Oh! Over there. Like the Blue Eyes is getting reprinted, but not just a Blue Eyes, but a Blue Eyes with an ability like Overframe. It's like, okay, now this card could be a very staple meta card in its Blue Eyes. It's like getting your favorite card with an ability. Again, 25, 30 years later, it's like, wow, what is happening? I can use Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, Time Wizard in my standard deck that have very powerful abilities, iconic.
Really? I did not see that. I saw that they were like changing they were giving full arts to Yu-Gi-Oh, but I didn't see that they were giving them abilities.
Yeah, so what they did was say, okay, like let's say in like, we have, Wing Zero and like Gundam, we have like Lee Sin or Kaisa in our like Riiftbound, then we got Darth Vader in Star Wars. Pretty much what they did was say, because Blue Eyes has no ability, Dark Magician also has no ability, right? They don't have any abilities in Yu-Gi-Oh! Even the other cards like Time Wizard, they're very old, like old cards whose abilities were outdated in the current format. So they re-released a card with like a different like side text name, whatever you want to call it, and now it has the ability. So it's basically it's a new version of Blue Eyes, same old picture, same old card, same old monster, but now it's got a huge ability that works in the current metagame. It's almost like going from like Call of Duty 1 to like Call of Duty 20, and it's like, wow, this completely changes the graphics, changes the game. You're moving way faster. Your Blue Eyes can actually compete in the current game, essentially, is what it is. It's like Kribo. You know what Kribo does.
Yeah, I know you can discard them to not take damage.
Exactly. Now imagine if that might be really outdated in the current format, but all of a sudden they go, well, now Kribo is like, it's basically Overframe, whatever, and now it's got an alternate ability that maybe when you can discard this card, but it does additional effects. It does something that is relevant to the current power of the game, essentially.
I'm looking at it. Is this am I coping with a new Blue Eyes card kind of mid due to being an effect monster? Is it this one that's like says level 8, you can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn when this card is...
Maybe. It's whatever the one that looks like Orframe, the ones that are breaking out.
Yeah, he's breaking out.
Yeah, that's the one that they just printed, or soon. It's coming out soon, I think, still. I think it came out in Japan, but it's not out here yet.
How does
They
this
did
guy think
real-
this is mid? Literally, one of the effects is if this card is special summoned from your hand or deck, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Also,
Exactly.
you can only attack with blue eyes monsters this turn. How is that mid?
Yes,
Somebody put that up in Reddit. I hate Reddit.
I mean, it might be mid in terms of like, yeah, what it's, in the current meta game, the power level. But the fact that Blue Eyes is, again, just like, it's like new Blue Eyes. It's a classic old artwork that you love. Everybody wants to own a Blue Eyes, okay? Like, if you don't own a Blue Eyes and you like Yu-Gi-Oh, or everybody likes to own, like, Pikachu, if that's Pokemon, whatever. Blastoise, people want Blastoise, okay? If we want Blue Eyes White Dragons in Yu-Gi-Oh, we want them like all the time. No one's gonna be sad if there's a Blue Eyes card for every single set for the rest of our lives.
Okay. I mean, I kind of like that they. I like that they did that. I mean, but I think people were getting tired of the game. I think the game was getting stable. They were losing a lot of people because it's so hard to come into Yu-Gi-Oh from an outsider's perspective. It is a very intimidating game. It's not the game I grew up with. It's something outside. I think it's boring as hell. I'll be completely honest. I do watch like YouTube content creators that talk about it for the same reason that we were just saying before, is like you just like hearing people talk about something. It doesn't really matter if you're into it or not. Sometimes if it's in the same hobby, in the same niche, you still like to get other people's opinion, what's going on in their card games or whatever. So I still like check in on Yu-Gi-Oh! Team APS. Shout out to Team APS and SEMO, people who I actually will enjoy watching from time to time. But I think they were doing this to kind of make it a little bit, actually this doesn't seem any less complicated at all, to be completely honest, but it definitely breaks it out of the staleness of Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh forever has just been like that same bordered card with a little square picture in it. I still don't understand why they have a number of stars instead of like a star with a number next to it. There's a lot of things about you, and then the text is so small because it's meant to be written in Japanese. And then, like, the small attack and defense on the bottom. I don't know. I just never really understood why they never... The game never evolved. It's just been this... actually, it did evolve, but, I mean, the card templates really didn't.
All I'm going to say, if you do not know Yu-Gi-Oh! And you were never a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, then I think that your opinion basically about Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, if you are not a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Player and you never were competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh! At any point, right? And actually taking it like more seriously, like you would your car, or like any other hobby that you really, really have. I don't know why I said car, but sure. Like, how expensive is the gas today? Like, you actually got to take Yu-Gi-Oh! Seriously, try to compete in it actually, and then you can have opinions about like basically what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, because a lot of people who talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day too, like I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since I was like, since it came out, like since I was like 5 years old. The people who had big opinions about Yu-Gi-Oh! Were like Magic the Gathering players, because that was the other like big game in Pokemon. Pokemon basically wasn't even a game. Like no one even now, Pokemon is not even like a thing. It's like if you're playing Pokemon as like an actual TCG, you're like, no one's talking about you basically. Like you can play, have your fun with your like $10 deck and stuff, but everybody's talking about like collecting Pokemon now. And Magic the Gathering are the players who just couldn't. The reason why they couldn't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Was it was too fast. It was too fast. It was too complicated for them, even back in the day when it came out, and they just couldn't handle it because the game would end. There was no mana system. So what it is you're basically playing chess, okay? And so it's as hard as chess, because you said it was very simple, but it's not. You basically have to know all the lines and what your opponent's going to do and not do. So I always compare Yu-Gi-Oh! To like a battle of wizards, okay? If you have two spellcasters fighting each other like Harry Potter or something, if somebody messes up their spell or does not counter the other wizard's spell, they will literally be incinerated on the spot. That's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Feels like. If you mess up once, and that's why people say it's so easy, you win the game so quickly. It's like, no, it's very hard. But yes, if you get hit by a spell, you are going to die, because the wizards are not sending like, low level cheap spells at you. They're trying to kill you, and you will lose the game right there.
I get that.
So
I get that. I'm not. I don't mean to make it sound like I know anything about one. I just know where the game was when I played it, and where it is today. They're two different games, and I think a lot of even Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. I know this is something that in the community people, there is a little bit of. I don't want to. It's just kind of like it's gotten stale for some people. You're not getting a bunch of new players because the game is at such a high level of play that the only people that are still playing are I would think are the ones who have been playing this long, and I can't really see a lot of new people getting into you. I just don't. I don't think like right now.
Still new players. It's just hard to get into for sure because of how the game is. But if you're looking for a competitive, like if you're looking for a game that has longevity, is competitive, I would say Yu-Gi-Oh. The problem with Yu-Gi-Oh is because Yu-Gi-Oh's market was always a lot smaller than Magic's. The people playing Magic the Gathering are not playing Magic the Gathering. Here's what's happening. They're playing Commander. And Commander is not the same. It's like playing any card game you have and saying, oh, we don't play Yu-Gi-Oh, we play the 2v2 format or like the multiplayer format. It's like that's not even, you're not even playing Magic. You're playing some weird spin-off of the game. It's like playing, I play Call of Duty, but you don't play Call of Duty. You play zombie mode, which has nothing to do with the game Call of Duty in the first place, right? That's how I feel about it. And that's why people are like, are kind of kept away from Yu-Gi-Oh in the first place, because you go to a TCG store, every single person saying, oh, you should play Magic, you should play Commander, you should play these games. Like, why is no one saying you should play Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And people will definitely teach you Yu-Gi-Oh. They even had Master Duel, which came out. A lot of people enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. You could play it for free, climb the ladder. It wasn't that hard to get into, but if you wanted to get really good at it, right? Like, oh, okay, sorry, it was hard to get into, but if you put in the time and effort, like you would do any game, you will like learn it fairly quickly. Yes, there's a lot of text on the cards, but it's just like Magic the Gathering. Instead of it saying first strike, it says what first strike actually means. So the Yu-Gi-Oh cards have a lot of text because they have the definition of what the card is trying to do and the ability fully written out instead of just saying keyword. Like they don't use keywords in that game, which is the big differentiation between them and any other card game.
I do think that that's something that the game sorely lacks. Also, that the text box is so much smaller than listen. I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy you want to talk to this stuff about because it's not my cup of tea. But I respect what Yu-Gi-Oh is and what it stands for, and I love that it's still a game that exists. I wouldn't want it to go anywhere, and I like that they're trying to I don't know if they're trying to reinvent the game, but they're definitely changing it in ways that they've never ventured into before. With, like you said, the blue eyes and giving it an ability and making full art cards and more chase cards and something outside.
Yes. You're going down the collector avenue now.
Yes.
Which is great. Which is what people wanted to like collect their blue eyes and like, you know, buy boxes and actually open packs.
Absolutely. So
one thing I want to say, think about Yu-Gi-Oh players, when Gundam was dead, like in GDO2, nobody was excited about it. The only people in the Discord who were actively playing webcam games and playing the game still were all Yu-Gi-Oh players. Which, like, the game basically, Gundam basically, like, in a way died in GDO2. It was like one of those, like, eras where, like, it's the same decks, no one's playing it, no one's excited to go to locals. I had all my clients in GDO2, like, they didn't even want to go to the new type challenge. Imagine not even wanting to enter a tournament that's like a $5 tournament in your area, is best to get locals, and the winner gets like an $800 card. And the people don't even want to go enter it or compete for it because they don't like the game. But the only people playing on webcams were only Yu-Gi-Oh players, which I think, you know, people like dislike Yu-Gi-Oh players, but honestly, it's one of the reasons why I take my Yu-Gi-Oh playmats to my locals, is because I want people to be mad that I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I want them to hate on me because they see my regional playmats and they're like, holy shit, this guy's either an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player, or I hate him because he's got a Yu-Gi-Oh mat, not a Magic the Gathering mat. And the people just like hate them, okay? It's like me running around with like the Trump hat, okay? Like, make America great again. People just hate me just because I have that hat on for like literally like they don't even know me. They just hate me for that reason. It's crazy.
I won't get political, okay. But I won't.
We need to get political with it. Okay, new podcast. One Punch Coach talk politics.
Oh, don't!
Even though
I would love it. I would love it, but we can't. We
I'm
can't.
Canadian. For you Americans that listen to this, like even America in Canada, I took like a Trump. Like back when he was getting elected, I took like an Ultramarines thing, which became a meme when he got shot, and I took Gilliman as my like picture of my Ultramarines, and I put it like on a table or whatever, and I took it to like a tournament, and people were like mad. They're like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna be so like." I'm in Canada. I'm not even in America. I'm literally like in Canada, and people would still be like kind of mad about it for like political reasons, even though it was like completely hilarious and funny, and like made complete sense in the Ultramarines lore and stuff too. It was just so funny, man. People get mad about everything. And that's why I do it. Okay, you need to trigger some people. If you're listening to this right now and you're mad about what I just said, you should like hit the close button and like never listen to us again.
Oh, and there goes half our viewers.
Oh no. What will we do? No, we just gained like half the viewers. Okay, we just doubled it.
I mean, me and you have privately talked politics before plenty of times, and we definitely don't see eye to eye in a lot of different things, but it's okay, because if you can respect the person, you don't need to understand where they're coming from. if you know at heart that somebody's heart is in the right place and that everyone's just trying to do the best that they can, I think it's really shitty to just like completely, stop fucking with people just because of their politics. You can have a difference of opinion, as long as you're not out there hurting anybody, you're not out there, causing no bullshit.
Freedom of speech.
Yeah, I just think, these things get taken for granted because, and not just taken for granted, but abused. You see a lot of people out there causing mayhem in the streets, saying that like, this is my right to protest, but you're causing mayhem out there. You're stopping traffic, or you're doing this or that. It's just you're going outside of the reins of what that freedom was intended for. It was intended for you to peacefully assemble, but I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day.
This is why we play card games, because just like this, and people get coaching by me just for this reason. And you were there, like in Star Wars, like I was the only person playing Inquisitor, making it work. And same thing in Gundam. If you want to play a certain deck archetype, a lot of your friends or people say you can't do that, or it doesn't work, it doesn't do this, because they're not spending the time into it. They don't see all the puzzle pieces coming together. And I was playing Inquisitor, winning games against, whether it was Boba Fett, whether it was Vader all the time, whether it was Luke Skywalker, like against these guys who were literally went and won the 10Ks and the 5Ks and like big events, and were like national heroes in that community. And like me on Inquisitor, one of the worst heroes ever pretty much, but it did something unique, put in the effort and the time, especially at the beginning, and you can like really make it work. Something in Gundam right now, there's a lot of decks in GDO 2 when people thought, oh, the game's dead, you can only play one of the two decks. Like that's it. If you're not playing these two decks, you're gonna lose. And then I had a Xeon deck that is very, very powerful. It had 100%, well, it was like a 99% win rate into the blocker decks. You just couldn't beat the deck if you were playing blockers, and like the Xeon deck destroyed it. Now obviously it still lost to the other half of the format, which was the aggro side of it, but 70% of the format was defensive decks with blockers, and my deck just ate them all. And all of my clients who took that deck were like, wow, you have very unique decks. You're not just like the YouTube videos posting like, oh, play these two decks, this is what the meta is. Like, I don't care about what the meta is. And that's the one thing I want to like really say is like, I think the TCG communities should know that meta is basically what is good right now, right? But me and you are sitting here. What is good right now is not what's gonna be good when we actually understand the game fully in like a week from now, a month from now, 2 months from now, whatever. Once we actually open up the boosters and we think this is going to be the best thing, this is what we won our locals with, all of a sudden next week comes around and somebody shows up with a different deck and you lose to it. You're like, what the hell just happened? Now you got to go back and reconfigure your deck, being like, okay, this clearly did not work anymore. And so I speed up that process, and even 2 or 3 months, 2 or 3 sets into a game, the meta is like basically what you're exposed to and what you have. And this is why, like, if you play international games, the international meta is one of the craziest things, because people in different countries, right, play differently. Same thing with football, sports, all these things. And that's what makes games so much more interesting. People view different viewpoints on it, just like politics or anything like that. It's like you just need to like kind of dig into it, understand it, learn more about what you want to like kind of dig yourself into, and then gain a better understanding. And don't let people put you down saying, oh, you got to play the best deck, you got to play meta, your deck doesn't work. It's like your deck might not work the way you have it built, but there could be a lot more lines, and having a coach like me definitely helps do that, because I make a lot of decks that are just completely different, like Inquisitor.
Yeah, I remember playing your Inquisitor deck when Swoo first came out, and that was when I first met you, right? That was one of the first things we did. We were playing,
Yes.
and that was always your main, and you played, was it double red Inquisitor at the time?
Double red. Nobody was playing it double
No,
red.
no one was playing double red.
I remember those cards well, I don't know what they were called, but the command cards that had like 2 abilities or 3 abilities on
Yeah,
them.
you had aggression you were using. Was it called aggression?
Yeah. It was called aggression,
Yeah.
and I was using that like in I think almost like a playset of it. And that card went up, like all the command cards like that went up in price a lot once people started figuring out this is super powerful. And aggression was like insane, and it would just win the game in like 3 turns. It was like, oh, double swing, triple swing. It's like, holy crap, this is crazy. And it's like people just weren't using it.
Yeah, I remember thinking like you blew me out in like 8 games in a row, and I wasn't having any fun. You had an answer for everything I was doing. Now, granted, I wasn't playing meta either, but I was still like doing pretty good when I was playing random people online. I was at least 50%. And I didn't win a single game against you that night. I was like very, very upset. You figured it out. And you were playing with a deck that no one was playing with, a double aggression Grand Inquisitor deck. You found a way to just put so much goddamn pressure on me with that deck, especially in set 1 where like there was only so many answers you could make. You just kept pushing and pushing, and I asked him like, what do I do? How do I stop this? And you're like, well, the problem with you is you're trying to race me and you're never going to beat me. You are going to lose if you race me. I'm way too fast for your deck. And that, even though that didn't change, I kept losing still, but you did teach me a better line to look for. I was trying to beat you to the punch rather than put myself on the defensive and see if I can keep myself alive enough to get to get back on my feet and then do a counter swing.
Exactly.
And yeah,
what was her name? Sabelle or
Sabine?
female? Sabine. I think you were playing Sabine, and you were the aggro deck, so you kept trying to aggro me.
I was trying to
and it's
out-aggro
like,
you.
yeah, you're like the best aggro deck in the format. It's
Yep.
like, no. You might be the best aggro deck in the format, but I am just faster than you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so much gas, and you can beat me, but like, I'm 100% faster than you. I'm all in, while you will win. Like, if you take 2 steps back and then jump, you'll definitely make the distance, while I can only leap so far.
Yeah, and you definitely showed me that that's exactly that was that was the first time I think I really respected what you were saying. I was like, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. You showed me something I never, realized in a card game before. Especially one where you were out aggroing the most aggro deck in the first set.
Yes.
Sabine was the deck to beat when it came to aggro. Like, there were so many. I think it was Green Sabine that everyone was playing before Boba got super popular. At least in the first few weeks of the game, Green Sabine, and just having Energy Conversion Lab, just sending out your what was his name? Was it the Steadfast Battalion, who was a 5/5, but he was +2/2 when you had your leader, and she came out turn 3 because she's a 4-drop, and you had 4 energy at that point. And you can send out, with Energy Conversion Lab, you can send out a 7/7 guy and with Overwhelm, smacking your opponent for one of their big creatures and hitting them for damage. And even with all that, dude, I couldn't beat your goddamn Inquisitor deck.
It was crazy.
It wasn't fun being on the other side of that.
It wasn't fun being on the other side of Boba, the most broken deck ever.
You know what I heard? I heard that one of the creators of the game, one of the top designers of that game, was a huge Boba fan, and that's why the Boba designs were so overpowered.
Makes sense that finally banned Boba like 2 sets later. Like, wow, dude, thanks for ruining the game for 2 sets.
Yeah, he definitely, and then even I think the second, no, Django was a strong card too. I don't think you were around for that, but I think it was set 3. Where Django was being played, and he was very aggressive. Django was a yellow card, so he was like resting everything. I think it was a Django space deck. It was the first time I saw a deck that was like meant to be played in space, and there was just so many great cards that like made your opponent that stalled out your opponent. It just made it didn't really have its own thing. It was actually just making your opponent's plan much, much weaker, and it was so good at doing it. So like the Fets, I don't know. I think one of the creators was just obsessed with the Fett family, and I don't know how that gets through design though. Like, aren't there game testers going, "This guy's fucking broken"? And is it just like one fat guy behind the scenes going, "Tough, deal with it"?
Here's the problem. I don't think they actually give a shit about any of that. Like, they don't. What they need to understand is, like, you make a game. You need to have dedicated, very good playtesters. Not the guy who's like the game designer and like sitting there like trying to like figure itself out. You need to have very, very good, like even better, somebody with Star Wars history, someone with Gundam history, someone who's like, oh yeah, the game's like looking fine. Like in Gundam, there's a problem right now where the beta cards, they tested the beta cards, but they probably tested it in a pool of the beta cards. and they said, oh, this is working perfectly fine, let's release it. And then moved on to the next part, which is like set 1, and set 1 cards, they released those cards. They said, oh yeah, this is working fine because we played all the set 1 cards, maybe with the beta cards in there randomly, and like played with them. And then all of a sudden set 1 came out, and the beta cards are just stronger because they just do what they're supposed to be doing without any restrictions. And a lot of the other colors, a lot of the set 1, set 2 cards have restrictions, like you cannot do damage to something unless it's like level requirements, or if it has to be tapped or whatever. But there's like the beta card, just ping anything you want. And now in purple, like you can basically just ping anything you want all the time. And one of the big things that just happened right now, they designed it 2 cards specifically in Gundam. They designed a card that has 4 HP and 2 attack power, okay? But its ability is that it pings a unit on the battlefield and pings your opponent's units. Because of this reason, what they did in my head is like, hey, if you're gonna play this card, you're gonna do a damage to yourself, right? And then you're gonna do a damage to your opponent. That's fine. But because you're gonna hurt yourself, we're gonna give you an extra point of HP so that when you play me, you are now at a equalized like HP to attack ratio, basically, with the damage. The problem is you never ping yourself. So your HP stays at max at all time, and then it breaks the game because your opponent can't interact with that unit because that's too much, like too high HP. So like Wing Zero that wipes the board cannot wipe that unit anymore, and so it's become one of the most powerful units because of how much health it has. It's like overtuned essentially because the game designers probably thought, oh, you're gonna ping your other units to like give them their abilities, but you just end up, or you're gonna ping yourself, I mean, to do damage, but you just end up pinging something else, and this thing just has like 4 HP for no reason. It's kind of like disgusting. And there's another card which they completely ruined, which is the new what's the card? Hathaway card, the LR from the Starbox. It's like Z Gundam or something. The card is, its ability is that for every unit your opponent has, the cost and level of this card is reduced by 1. Right? That's a very like normal, common thing that happens in many other games. The issue with this card is that because it has this ability, what they ended up doing was increasing its level to overwrite its own cool ass effect. So now it's no longer like a level 6 card, because the power level wise this card is like only level 6, and if we reduce it in cost, yeah, it can go to like level 5, level 4, level 3, totally fine. But because it does nothing else besides that, but because its ability was to lower its own cost, what they did was increase its level in cost to level 9 and 8 cost, which is ridiculous because that's like super end game breaking cards. And this card basically became useless now because its ability is don't play me till level 9 or play me on level 6, but I'm a level 9 card. So it's like it basically doesn't have an ability. It's really, really stupid how game designers design cards, and they always like leave loopholes because I think what they do is they don't have time to design the deck, the game, and the cards. Number 2, game designers are usually people who, sure, some of them might have experience designing other games, but they have multiple people on the team. They're all designing different things. They all have different opinions, and they're not playtesting everything like as much as there should be. And number 2, they're coming from it as a way of like, this has to be fun or it makes sense, rather than how it's actually going to work on paper, like when you're actually playing the game, like how is this actually going to work, and then they like leave potholes everywhere, and then the game kind of like breaks essentially.
Yeah, I think a lot of game designers too they're not, people who tend to make really good games. I don't think the correlation between them and high tier gamers, like they're not the same people, right? So like they're creating things that people know how to just like take advantage of. When it comes to like, I don't really think they're intending things to be super weak or super powerful. I think just players are better when it comes to playing games than the designers and finding things out, especially when you have mass quantities of players like you do in games like Riiftbound and games like Gundam and everything. And Magic. Once players get their hands on the toy, they tend to, and I don't know, like, do you ever hear about any of like the testers that play these games? Like, they obviously have testers, but are they like, do they work for the company, or are they paid by, as like subcontractors or something? Like, I don't know how it works. Or do they do it for free? Like, I don't know, but I never hear about the testers. But there's obviously,
well, you can go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's obviously some sort of test phase, but I feel like every card game has like a thing that gets to the public and like something's broken, And you're gonna tell me like it didn't get like no one saw this? Nobody saw the potential with Boba Fett being a drop at 5, a 4/7, you know, and he readies 2 resources plus 1 more. Like he was readying 3 resources, and a good player could just that's might as well be ramping 3 things, 3 energy on turn 4 of all times. I'm just using Star Wars analogy. My point being, no one saw this as a problem, you know, and Gundam had it, I think. Did Gundam have it?
Gundam definitely had problems. The beta cards and armor array and all this stuff. The game design was, hey man, you know this is what Gundam is right now. You can play 1-drop units, the cheapest units in the game, the units that have no abilities and are meant to be like your grunt soldiers, right? Those are the cards that are the most deadliest in Gundam. And their entire idea was like, you know, Union Arena where like you can burst cards from your shield. Like every single time you get hit, you burst a card, right? Imagine in Union Arena that all you have to do is play 1/1 cost cards as fast as possible, and you just kill your opponent in 2-3 turns. Like literally, you just die. There's nothing you can do about it. You just every single time you play a 1/1 cost unit, you kill your opponent because you need to go after the shields because they're trying to take out your units, but they're too slow, and then you don't need to attack their units. You just swing right up to their life, kill their life as fast as possible, and if you play anything that is defensive, you know the opponent will play a single card like a kill spell or armor red that taps your blocker, and then they're gonna go for your face, and you die literally by turn 4 or 5. You're like completely dead. And it's very obnoxious, and I don't know how they didn't realize that this was a problem. That playing the weakest card in the game, playing multiples of them as fast as you can, will win you the game like 90% of the time in GDO 1. It was ridiculous, and they're still doing it now. There's the same philosophy still working, and it's really ruined a lot of decks. Like a lot of decks just don't work because if you don't have a defensive mechanism for those like first, like let's say 2 to 3 turns, like literally the first 2 to 3 turns, you will die. It's like Sabine, except you just die. It's so fast, you just die. There's no counterplay.
I found that, and this is with Gundam, right?
Yeah, this is with Gundam. You just die.
Yeah, I mean, at least when the game first came out, I played my first games with you pretty much. One of the first things I realized was how little interaction there was in the shields. Like once they started taking out your shields, like there's like nothing you can do. You kind of just like sitting there looking at the next shield, and you're like, okay, that's nothing. Okay, this one's nothing. Dude, you have 3 things that are so little, and they're just tearing me apart. I'm over here trying to like summon something big to the field, and you're just, you know, you're popping me with these little guys. So I don't know. I realize why blockers are so important and why bases are so important and everything. It's just like, I know in Union Arena, the way around that, the way they kind of like, and to a fault sometimes, you know, anything that has like a shield system, whether it's like Union Arena, Vanguard, or anything that has to do like Gundam, a lot of, let's see, I mean Bushiroad, but also like the Bandai card games are super popular for this. But anytime there's like a certain RNG element added to a card game, yes, it adds a little bit of fun because you never know what's going to happen, but it also adds a little bit of unskill. And when you're playing somebody and they get really lucky, I know I played Union Arena for like the first 5 sets, and I stopped playing it now. I've been playing Riiftbound, but when I was playing Union Arena, and you're playing someone at locals, and you're doing a really good job just mopping them, and then they you know, you hit one of their shields, they flip it over, and it's just one of their specials and kills I mean, the whole point of a special card is it kills anything they want on your front line, which is your main attack line. And you can't, you know, it could be your most powerful card in your deck, and there's nothing you can do about it. And there's nothing they did that made them good for making that move. They just got lucky. And that is where it's too much, I think, in Union Arena, because there's so many instances where that's happened before. And in the case of Gundam, I think it happens too little. There's no like middle ground. I feel like it didn't happen, at least in set 1. I haven't played set 2 or 3, but set 1, I felt like there was no protection in your shield. I kept looking for like a way out, but it never came. But yeah, I mean, that it's like in the opposite direction of Union Arena. Union Arena has these things called finals. You're only allowed 4 finals in your deck, and a final isn't actually a card. It kind of sounds like it's a really super badass card, but it's just actually one of your support cards, but it has an static ability on the bottom that if it gets found in your shield zone when it gets hit, it's called final, because if it is your final shield, the effect of it actually activates, and you actually you sideline it, you put it in your discard pile, but you add the top card of your deck into your shield zone, and it kind of it stops you from losing. Like literally, if it's your last shield, you don't lose if you reveal a final for that last hit. And I was playing a buddy of mine, and I hit his final, and I had him beat. I hit his final. He flipped it over. We were laughing, but I was dying inside. And then he put his top card of his deck in his shield zone. My turn was over, and the backswing killed me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I should have won that, but you know, like, I don't know. RNG is kind of like necessary in these games, but at the same time, it kind of ruins it. So I guess my question is, because I'm long-winded, as you can tell, has it changed? Has it gotten better in Gundam since set 1?
Well, in Gundam, I'm like the godfather of burst. Like, we're talking about the shield mechanic.
Yeah.
In GDO 1, I said there's no way to beat aggro. Still, even right now, there's pretty much no way to beat aggro unless you start activating shield effects that kill your units and gave you a lot of card advantage, because like, oh, you hit my shield, I kill your guy. You hit my shield, I kill you. Imagine that being literally stacked. And so in my deck, like I'm on the final card, right? Like the kill spells. I'm running like 12 to 16 of those because I need them in my shield, or I will lose the game so fast that there's no hope. And so I've been doing that since GDO 1. With my wing deck, I even have like ramp cards so I can get, if you hit my shield, I will level up for free. You do that twice, I will level up to like wing 0, where I can wipe your whole board really, really quickly, because I don't have time to get to level 8. You're gonna kill me by level turn 4, turn 5, so I need to basically artificially ramp myself onto like my biggest ace card in my deck that can actually just straight up destroy the whole board, so I can have a chance. And even then you lose. You do that 2-3 times, you still lose. It's ridiculous. Now things have changed because they made a new card called Improved Technique, and all it's basically done is, we used to have close combat and battle aces. Those two cards would basically deal 2 damage to your opponent from the shield area, so you could kill like small guys, which is what you want to do. Now they have a third one, which is basically the same thing. It deals 3 damage instead, but now you just have more of it. So you went from having 8 cards to 12 cards in your deck that just straight up kill your opponent. Just increasing that ratio has made it like that you significantly, like more of the time than not, actually get to do something to your opponent's side of the board when they're trying to kill you within 2 seconds of you sitting down to play a game of Gundam. So it's changed a little bit. People are still not viewing it as, oh, burst decks. In fact, when I made those videos on my YouTube channel, everybody was saying this doesn't work. You're relying on RNG. It's all RNG. I'm like, dude, this is not RNG. I'm literally putting cards into my deck on purpose with others. Like, I'm taking out cards that could have been used, like slots in my deck that could have been used for other things, to purposely try and protect myself. Yes, it is RNG that there's going to be, a burst or not. But I'm putting so many in my deck, the odds of me hitting a burst is significantly higher, and it's not that I'm relying on it, that I need to hit a final card as my last shield or something. But what I'm relying on is, if I get into a bad position against an aggro deck, or if I am sitting down and my opponent's playing an aggro deck and I have nothing that I can do to stop him, hopefully the shields are enough that I can at least stabilize and actually try to come back and win the game before I get to play 0 cards and just lose. And like, there's other ways that I coach like that actually help you understand whether you're going to hit, a final or a burst or whatnot, depending on the deck you're playing. You can actually, make a much more strong calculated decision about what are your odds of hitting one or hitting multiples or not. It's like poker.
In what way?
In what way? So basically in poker, you need to be able to read all your opponent's cards. When you sit down, yes, you can only, people think that in Gundam you sit down, or any card game, you sit down and you reveal 2 cards, right? And like poker, you look at the top 2 cards, or 21, whatever. That's not true. The cards have been dealt, you see what cards are in your hand, and then you see the flop, basically, like the first couple of cards that the person flips over, right? And it's like, okay, now you have more information about what is left in the deck, how many cards have been dealt, and what are the odds of something being hit. Number 2, based off of your opponents and how they're playing and betting, you can make a much more calculated guess upon what they have. As you get to like round 2 or 3, you start to realize that, okay, more cards have been revealed. What are your odds of actually, winning this bet, essentially, and who has given up and who hasn't? Based on that, you can make a much, deeper analysis about, should you make the bet or not, right? What are your odds of winning that hand? And you're counting cards while you're doing this. So same thing in card games, you need to start counting cards. In Gundam, or almost in any card game, you have a 50 card deck. Your opponent draws cards, okay? Let's just say we're playing, like, I'll use the wing, I'll use Gundam, and I'll use like other card games as a reference, but pretty much you draw cards. Everybody runs 4 of every single card, okay? You're gonna have something they're gonna try to play early, because let's say your opponent like doesn't mulligan, right? Let's just say he doesn't mulligan, he doesn't want to. It's very obvious he's holding a blocker, or we're holding like early game cards in his hand. Now, based on his deck, you'll know which ones those are. You'll be like, okay, he has a Lifrith, he has an early GM, or he's got some like aggressive start, right? He's playing those cards. So you can start now making calculated decisions upon what does he have in those 5 cards in his hand. If he mulliganed, you can even then make a decision because he must have put all of his big heavy hitters to the bottom of his deck, which means there's a higher chance of hitting his blockers. But at the same time, if he doesn't start playing them in the first 2 turns, that means he has a dead hand. He literally just screwed himself and he has nothing to play. And you can make a calculated guess upon what does he have that he's not playing at the moment, whether that's multiple level 8 units, whether that's like all command spells or multiple pilots. You can make a very good guess upon that. Also, in Gundam, you start hitting your opponent's shields. Okay, this is like Unionary. Now, if you hit your opponent's shield, you flip a card. Now you know that that exact card in your opponent's deck is in the graveyard, so that card has left the pool. Same thing with poker. Once you start seeing that somebody has folded, or somebody like, you know, the dealer has flipped in their card, that ace can no longer exist in anyone's hand. If you're holding 2 aces, well, the odds of you winning that is literally skyrocketed to the moon, which is why aces are like the best thing to hold. Because if you do get a hand of 2 aces or 2 kings, your chances of winning is like really, really high. As long as it flips king at some point, or even just having a pair is like usually good enough. And by using these decision-making trees, and this is why holding cards, remember like we were talking about Riiftbound, and we were playing Riiftbound, and one of the first time we played Riiftbound with the Garen Lux 2v2, right? In that exact moment, I had just taught you about doing nothing. I just taught you that, and you played some games afterwards, and you said, wow, I won my games, and this came into like effect immediately. Like the thing you taught me was like so powerful that I actually just won my game. It was like kind of interesting. We played the 2v2 matchup. Now they don't know what's happening, but when I didn't do anything, it clicked in your head that, oh my god, he must have something. Like, what does he have? I don't know what he has, but he definitely coaches up to some no good, basically. And then we destroyed them because I did not just play a card. They didn't even know what deck I was playing. I mean, they didn't know I was playing Garen, but like they didn't know what I was about to do to them. And then you knew that I was going to do something. You didn't know what. And then all of a sudden I started like playing multiple cards in one turn, and they couldn't respond to like multiple threats all at once. And number 2, I had cards that could disrupt their board. Because they were playing cards, I could interact with them. If they decided to do nothing, I would be forced to play an alternate line, and then my other like command cards wouldn't be going into like, wouldn't be used because it wiped the board or destroy everything essentially. And so the art of doing nothing is like when you're playing poker, just like don't do nothing, just pass, just like, you know, bet, just call, you know, that's pretty much what you want to be doing. And it's really, really important to hold your hand, not show your intent in card games, because if you do play 2 blockers or 2 aggressive cards, you know, then your opponent now knows that you're playing an aggressive line and that you have less cards in your hand, which means you can make much more calculated guesses into what those are. It's like playing a puzzle game and you got to reveal, you know, there's 5 cards, you don't know what they are, but you got to make good guesses. Well, if you reveal and flip 2 of them, you now know what they are, and you can make a much better guess upon what the other 3 cards are based on those like first 2 cards shown.
It's like the process of elimination. It's like stuff that you know that you have, you know your opponent doesn't.
Yes, process of elimination, but also like it's not just process of elimination, because that is clearly telling you like, yes, based on elimination you can guess what they have, but it's also the intent. What is your opponent's intent behind what card they played, right? If you're playing a Teemo deck in Riiftbound and you play a card face down, well, the intent might be to, you know, use your Teemo combo, but also you might be bluffing that is not another Teemo you have, that is something else that, you know, your opponent, you don't want your opponent to interact with. This happened very commonly in Yu-Gi-Oh, because you would put a face down card, but you don't know, is that a card that is indestructible like Spirit Reaper? Is that a Penguin Soldier? Is that a Needleworm? You have no idea what that is. Is it a Man-Eater Bug that you want me to attack into it so we can both kill each other? What is that face down card? And a lot of people, what they would do in Yu-Gi-Oh is you would put a Man-Eater Bug face down. Your opponent thinks it's a Spirit Reaper because nobody plays Man-Eater Bug, so they would not attack into it, right? Or it would be a defensive monster with like a really, really high defense, and they don't want to take damage, so they just simply would not attack into you. Then you would flip Man-Eater Bug, and it would destroy your opponent's monster, and they would be like, oh my god, you just killed me, I should have attacked into it, and whatnot. Same thing in Riiftbound. Having those face down cards when you're playing Lee Sin could lead up to different effects. One of the reasons why Lee Sin plays, what is that one card? I wish I
Is it a spell or is it a?
It's United Stand, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why Lee Sin plays that card, yes, you can play it from your hand, but if you play it from the face down card, your opponent's going to think that it's something very, very defensive instead of United Stand, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I did not expect it to be that card, and I need or Zani's Hourglass, same thing. Like you don't know which one it is, and some people don't even play one or the other in certain decks. But if you add even a single copy of it in, it can really confuse your opponent in terms of like what you're actually playing and how strong it is.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of, you know, we were talking about prices on these card games. Not speaking of, I'm sorry. This is totally off subject, actually, completely. But we were talking about how expensive some of these games are to get into, and you were just talking about your Lee Sin deck, and the reason why I bring it up is because you spent a pretty penny to get that deck nice, and for good reason. I mean, it's you were enjoying playing him, and when Riiftbound came out, you kind of went full out into making a Lee Sin deck and everything, and you spent a good chunk of about $700, a little over $700 on a deck that you can't really do much with, like competitively. I mean, you can code, obviously, but when you want to look at the competitive Riiftbound, for instance, you just go and look at the best players in the world right now, or at least the ones who are putting themselves in the biggest tournaments. And Lee Sin is he's not even a whisper. So, you could play with your Lee Sin deck at locals and everything, but I think one of the big problems with these games right now are the Paul brothers getting their stupid greasy little mitts on all these collectible games. But it's the scalpers. They're making things very difficult getting product. Things are being underprinted, short printed, and it's such a fucking annoyance to me that all these games that as they come out, they all have this same problem. Digimon had it, Lorcana had it. I mean, I didn't play Digimon, but Lorcana had it. Fusion World even had it in my locals. I don't know if Gundam had it. At least it did, right? Like a short short print.
Huge.
And I know
Star decks were selling for like close to like $80-$90, and they were only like $15 MSRP.
Yeah, and there's no reason for that, man. And it's gotten to the point where it's very hard to I don't want to invest in these games because they're fucking expensive. And I won't get into it because I've gotten into it one time on our podcast. I don't want to get into it again about how I don't know what these fucking people do with their day-to-day lives, how they have all this money to spend on cardboard. That's cool. It's everything. Like you yourself, you spent $700. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I feel bad is that you spent $700 and you don't really get to spread your wings out and say like, all right, well, I don't want to really play this deck. Let me go ahead and play a different deck. And now it's like, well, you spent a lot of money on this deck. I mean, you can sell the cards back, but like these games should not be as granted, I know you actually spent money on a lot of the alt versions of certain cards or whatever, but even still, at most, we're talking like $100, $200. It for like a I can't explain this to somebody who's not in the hobby that it's more than that. Even that is like probably crazy because at the end of the day, we're talking about cardboard. We're talking about a game. It's not even just like a collectible thing. A Michael Jordan card, you can honestly understand why that card is worth so much money, but when we're talking about a thing that's primarily meant for two sweaty virgins to sit down across from each other and to play a fake battle with one another, we don't understand why is this so expensive. And so one of the things I've been doing that I've been telling you about is proxying. I'm just getting into proxying because I want to play the games. I just don't want to spend the bread on the cards. I don't feel like it justifies, especially because anything I buy right now in the hobby, I know I'm getting fucked. I know it. Like I already know because the prices are everything's overpriced right now because of the lack of stock. And this is like kind of like my take on it. And don't quote me on this because I don't know, but I believe that these game companies use incentives they short print on purpose and then give product to, instead of bonuses to their staff, they probably give product to their staff and say, here you go, like this is going to be worth more than I can give you in cash right now, so I can give you $100 bonus, or you can sell this for $400 because we short printed on purpose, so here you go. I don't know. dude, I'm probably wrong about that, but I would not be surprised if I found out that that was true. I'm just so sick of these people. It's the same thing. A new game comes out, there's hype for it everywhere. They short print it and they go, well, gee, we had no idea that everybody wanted to play this game. It's like, dude, I mean, there's forums, there's websites. People have been very excited about this game. You must be fucking stupid to not know that people wanted to play your game. Either that or you're lying. And unfortunately, I think it happens too often, to the point now where, you know, I just proxy. I really enjoy playing Riiftbound, so I've just been proxying every deck that I wanted to play. Now, I don't go and play in tournaments with them, but it allows me to play on webcams. It allows me to play at locals with buddies of mine who, you know, are playing with their decks. And I'm just like, hey guys, I hope you don't mind. I have proxy decks, but these are the decks that, you know, and I make them look nice. You know, I print on holofoil. I print holofoil cards so that, you know, I have my foil versions of my rares. And I have, you know, less than stellar looking normal average other cards for like my commons and everything. And I don't try to pass it off as real cards. I just want them to look pretty. If it's an ultra rare with a nice full art card, like I want it to still look shiny, you know. But I've been really enjoying that, and I think that's something that I want to do for you. I want you to, you know, actually wanted to get your take on it. Like, for at least for webcamming, is this something that you like support, like people proxying, or do you find a problem with like that? The price of these things are so overbearingly disgusting sometimes that it's just worth proxying sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think number one, I like proxies because yes, you can't take them to tournaments. Who cares? The point is, we used to, like back in the day, just all we're trying to play with like our Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever cards we had. It's like we can't play with the cards because we don't like. There's no simulators back then. There was no like even YouTube, and you had to like literally print paper and then cut the card out and put it into your thing, and like that was your proxy. That was like perfectly fine. We would put, you know, the classic thing of Yu-Gi-Oh is literally take a piece of paper, cut it out, and write the name of the card you have onto it, and then put it into the sleeve, and then that's your proxy right there. So we could actually play the cards. So all we want to do is pretty much play cards, and it feels better to play with these nice cards, and it also feels better to play with alt arts because you're looking at a nice artwork of your card and it's foil and so on. It looks really nice to hold and play. That's why we play card games like webcams all the time, because we don't want to play on the simulator. The simulator, I'm going to be honest, it's there to play games and maybe be like play a little bit faster and so on. But I like, that's why the webcam scene is growing in all these card games, because now we have technology and all this jazz, and webcams are actually good, and the whole community, all the TCG community basically plays on webcam. And if you guys don't play on webcam, you guys definitely should buy a webcam, like $20 whatever off Amazon, plug it into your computer, and then start playing a webcam game, because you get to enjoy the hobby. You can get proxies, like, you know, One Punch is now going to be doing proxies. I want proxies, and not only that, actually I just had this idea that I've been wanting forever. I want custom proxies of all of my cards. Like, imagine my whole Gundam deck was actually just Yu-Gi-Oh-fied. Okay, imagine Gundam cards that were completely like generated different artworks with like Yu-Gi-Oh, like Blue Eyes White Dragon and all this stuff on my card work. That'd be so cool. Then I can play with my own custom cards. Like, I would only do that, like, obviously, you know, if you're somebody who's comfortable like playing against me and could understand what the card is. Gundam's not very difficult, and I would try to make it like look really, really cool. But I would enjoy that I have a custom deck to play with. And you know, on Etsy you see this all the time with like all the loot artwork and all the different, like, you know, commander decks that are like different art from different games and different characters, and people literally make those and sell them as decks on Etsy. So I think there's a large amount of people who actually want to play with these, especially in Magic, like, you know, $10,000 card, no one wants to spend money on that. Even in Gundam, I would love to, you know, when I show you guys YouTube videos of my deck techs, I would love to have the alt arts, love to show off, you know, the product. And number two, just having the cards in my hand, I don't have to record videos using the online like deck building sites. I can actually have the cards in my hand, and it's so much more affordable. I don't want to have to go out and buy a master set, okay, of all of these cards that cost, like, you know, like in Barbados first form right now is like literally $40. I don't want to spend $120 to get a simple LR that could be worth $1. Why am I doing that? I'm not. I'm just gonna get proxies. They're gonna look really, really nice, and I can play with them and have fun. And so I always been a fan of proxies in terms of like, not in tournaments, but at home you always proxy everything. I still play with full proxy decks on Gundam webcams all the time, even right now. And in my YouTube video, like my clan video, I had cards upside down because I don't own the cards. Like Improved Technique Alt Art is now like $80. I'm not buying it.
$80 for a card is ridiculous. Is that I mean, is it one of the most rare cards in the set, I guess?
It's an alt art, so that's why it's $80. But there's another card in the set that, like, for example, the normal Death Sight, a normal LR. This card, by the way, this card was worth $45 to $55 day one, because everybody's like, oh, Wing's the best deck, you're gonna buy Death Sight, $45. Okay, it dropped from $45 to now $3. So that means I lost so much money just to be able to play the game that if I had proxies, I would have saved myself like literally hundreds and hundreds of dollars by just buying proxies, being able to play with the cards, and then I can even wait till the card goes way down in price, because honestly, Bandai games and Gundam TCG, all the cards come out day one, they're like super expensive, and then the entire market crashes overnight. It's like, oh, my card that I bought for $50 is now worth like $2. It's like, what the hell did I just do? Why did I just lose $1,000 trying to build 2-3 decks like within the first week or the first month of a set coming out, when I could have just waited? And that's one of the bad things that feels bad with my clients too. It's like, do I buy the card now? Do I buy it later? Like, I want to play with it, practice with it, but I can't, without like, proxying with paper or something like that. It's like, well, how about I just like, I don't want to wait 2-3 months and then this card's going to go down because people are overhyping it. They're, again, net decking all of their decks, trying to like, stay with the meta. And so every single card goes up in price like fivefold for no reason.
Yeah, it's a real problem. And I really do hope that eventually like these things get fixed, but I don't know, man. And I'm not gonna hold my breath. Let's put it that way. But I mean, if I go into, I'm just gonna look at like the latest. Again, sorry to keep going into Riiftbound, but if I go into like the latest deck that won, wow, Annie won. I don't know if you know anything about it. Huh?
I do know. Annie won again.
You do know.
Dark
Yeah. Annie
coming up.
and Azir came in second, which is just like insane.
Yeah.
Which is just fantastic.
Don't worry. When I hit a tournament and Lee Sin wins first place,
you can never remember.
You'll hear it here first. Actually, my first night of Riiftbound, everybody brought their Kaisa decks and everything. Everybody brought Kaisa. Riiftbound release event, first tournament, like a week or two later. People had Kaisa. They had like all those like the top decks back in like Riiftbound set 1, like Master Yi and Kaisa all over the place. Guess what won the event? Back to back. Lee Sin. Lee Sin.
No, he's good. It's just there's better things to be playing. I guess there's just better matchups, like the things like Kaisa and Drape.
Lee Sin beats Kaisa's ass all day, but again, if you make a mistake, you will lose because you're so reliant on your Lee Sin. Your Lee Sin dies, that's it. You just scoop right there. There's nothing else to it. And if you don't know when or how to use your counter spells, because unlike other Bandai card games like these are games, Riiftbound, like we had our interaction with, you gotta understand how the stack works. You gotta understand when to play cards, what is more difficult, what is your out, and like how are you gonna stay in the game. And they have to basically pop the Lee Sin while you have to play around their huge damage spells that are gonna interact with things on the battlefield, because they cannot hit you while you're in your bench essentially, right? So you stay in your bench, and if they try to do anything to you during that time, you can just counterspell them or mess up their plan of their really powerful spells.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I like so much about this game is the interaction just adds such a high level of skill to and also gives you so much more freedom to kind of express your deck making abilities. You don't really have that, like we didn't have that in Star Wars. You kind of did, because like you can go back and forth and everything. There was pseudo interaction because like a round would consist of you and your opponent going back and forth, but it wasn't like you did this thing and I can play a card from my hand that's like, no, you don't, because that's just not the way the game was intended to be played. A lot of Bandai games, the only interaction is just totally random shit from your shield zone. But in Magic and other games like these, there are these reactions that you leave mana up essentially that tells your opponent I'm either bluffing or I might have something to counter what you're trying to do. And it really adds so much depth to already very fun games, and it just makes every move count a little bit more. Because in other games, like I'll just keep using for example, like like just Union Arena for instance, you just want to do as much as you possibly can. Like that is the whole point. There are like rare instances where you might want to hold back just because like you doing everything you can may not be the big swing that you're looking to do. So it'll actually be better to like hold back a little bit in case your opponent wants to get fancy, and then you can play your trump card. But for the most part, that's not a problem. I'll just use Lorcana, because Lorcana is like you spend all your ink, which is your mana, and put everything out. Just get everything out that you can and play everything that you can. You're actually wasting mana if you don't spend it all. And in Riiftbound and in Magic, you want to hold some up. It's called, if you like literally tap yourself out and you have nothing for your opponent, when they see that, I know for me, when I see my opponent has tapped themselves out, I know that like this is an opportunity for me to get the most out of this turn. And I get really upset if like I see in my hand I don't have the cards that I need to do, just go nuts on my opponent. But but as you were saying, like it's just one of those things where there's counterplay in this. And I don't know, I was looking at some of these decks, man, and they're $500 for the top tier deck, for the Annie deck, for the Draven deck that came in third place, $500, $499.92.
Yeah.
It's just
that's definitely a problem with Riiftbound that I don't like. Obviously, okay, like Riiftbound Set 2 just came out, so these prices are gonna drop because it literally like came out like last week, this week. It's like it's brand new. It's gonna drop in price, just like Riiftbound Set 1 kind of did. Obviously, like there's less in the market and so on, but prices dropped. And then again, Annie was like such a cheap deck until they started winning. So like there's a lot of decks in Riiftbound, like Jax. I'm a Jax guy. I'm playing Lee Sin. I'm gonna play Jax. I would also play like Ezreal and other things like that are gonna be a lot cheaper, even though Ezreal does win and stuff. It's like you want to pick up something that you enjoy. Number one. Number two, the meta game's gonna shift. Like just like in Set 1, Annie was not on this mark, like it was in like winning tournaments and stuff, and then all of a sudden it came out of nowhere in America and just started winning. And Volibear too. Volibear was very strong in particular matchups, and Misfortune was one of the best decks, but people kept messing around with the deck and it didn't actually end up like winning. Now the pros knew Annie was the best, like because why not, but they weren't out there playing until later. And card games move kind of fast. Like eventually somebody goes out there from a different country and wins it, and then everybody copies it. Same thing in Gundam. Like right now people are trying to copy other decks. In Riiftbound and Yu-Gi-Oh, like people start copying. Like Yu-Gi-Oh I think is very advanced. It's like a whole different ball game of everybody. You have to be good to play Yu-Gi-Oh. There is nobody who's playing it casually.
I don't think there is a casual Yu-Gi-Oh scene, is there?
There isn't. Everything is. There's no. I never went to a Yu-Gi-Oh scene. Like if you're casual, you're playing the game because you enjoy the show, and you're like you would play, like pick up some cards, play some games. But realistically, when you go to a tournament, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get my ass kicked, because everybody here is, you enter a tournament it's a fucking tournament. This is not your locals. I'm going to locals. There's no thing I'm going to locals. And Yu-Gi-Oh was like, I'm going to locals meant I'm going to the tournament to try and compete against everybody else and see who wins. And it's even going back to the anime and the show, right? What is Yu-Gi-Oh all about? Yu-Gi-Oh literally starts off, I want to kick your ass and I want to take your rarest card. There's literally card hunters in that show robbing you of your cards. You're trying to have an ego battle between you and your opponent, saying I'm better than you, and like people like hate Seto Kaiba, or like Yugi's like believe in the heart of cards and making better decks. Like Joey Wheeler's literally trying to improve, and then Marek and so on. Like everybody's literally beating up on each other. And when you go to your locals, you're like, I'm the better duelist. I am better than you. I'm going to show you that and beat you. And that's not a thing in like Magic in these games. It's more like just very casual, like and so on. Like Beyblade, even like it's not really about that too much. But they do battle. All these card games, like the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Why made it so popular is because when you picked up your cards, you wanted to show it to your opponent, like, I have the Blue Eyes White Dragon. I have this power card. This is what I'm playing around, and I will beat you because my deck is built better, or I have these better cards that I'm utilizing to a better degree, and then you are. And then, Seto Kaiba proves that on the show, too. Gives the person all the rarest cards. Build the deck. I will still whoop your ass because I'm better than you. And then Yu-Gi-Oh's whole thing is, like, obviously, heart of the cards bullshit that he's cheating. But that's how it is, and that's why Joey Wheeler like eventually overcomes like Marek and stuff. Yeah, he just straight up cheats.
He really does. There's actually footage of, I don't know if you saw this, but it's like a beauty saying, I think he plays Pot of Greed and he draws 2 cards, but he draws 4. He just keeps yeah, that's a funny thing.
It's just like a meme, but like no, he actually does cheat. That's his superpower in the show. The Pharaoh's power is that the heart of the cards is that he can pull any card he wants from the deck. That's literally his ability that he reveals at the very end of the show to Yugi and says, I will not use my power against you to pull any card I want. And then he loses. So, yeah.
And then he lost the first game. He didn't cheat it. It just goes to show you.
Pretty much, yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I remember. I never really watched Yu-Gi-Oh to the conclusion of that original series, but I remember seeing the end of that battle, and do one of my YouTube watching things. We've done a lot of talking tonight. I definitely I'm just glad to have you back, Coach. Congratulations on getting. What are you at right now on your YouTube channel?
I think I'm at like 512 viewers. If you guys are watching this, go over to the Coach SK on YouTube if you guys enjoy Gundam, and I'm sure you guys are gonna be from there anyways. Go subscribe to my channel. Go drop a like. Or even on any video, just be like, hey, I will listen to your podcast on this video as well. And I'm sure on the next podcast we're gonna be talking about different things and not just going off the top about everything in life. And how I like AVGs and so on. Okay.
Yeah, this was off the cuff, guy. Obviously, it was a little sloppy, but we wanted to just sit down with each other. I definitely wanted to congratulate Coach on his own YouTube channel and getting out there and just doing really well on it. So, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
And with that, guys, yeah, remember to subscribe the video. Really means a lot to us. We're at 200 subscribers. When we took this channel back over a few months ago, it was at 72, which was a nobody channel. Before we got those 72 subscribers, we were at 2 years before that, and then we really quickly rose up. We had a couple hundred, 150 subs really fast, and then we kind of fell off. So we apologize for that, but I know you guys don't really give a shit. At the end of the day, you're gonna find a video and watch it, regardless if it's me, if it's Coach, if it's anybody. If we stop making content, you're still gonna find something to watch. We're gonna try to do it as often as we can, though. I definitely want to talk more about proxies. I'm sorry if I feel like I'm on cocaine right now. I'm speaking really fast. But I really want to go into proxy making, and very soon I did reach out to Coach, asked him to send me some lists, because for his channel at least, where he's going to want to go through kind of teaching guys, coaching you how he plays his hands and everything. It'd be nice for him to actually have the physical cards to do, and I'd like nothing more than to kind of help him out and print some proxies for him so he can help you guys out and share you some of his cool strategies. And that's definitely in the works for the next video, for the next podcast. But if you are returning from previous podcasts and you're excited to have us back, we appreciate you. And we will we'll return soon. We're going to try to get out another podcast this week or early next week. So look forward to it. Any last words, Claire, Coach?
Nope, that's it. Coach is out.
Have a good night, guys.